Here we go. So officially, again, my name is Anika S. Jones. I am the community curator, the lead consultant and executive director for Holistic Fluency Consulting. As a community curator, I support educators, individuals, and organizations as they develop, demonstrate, and redefine what community is. So we do this at various levels, but the key is that we're intentional, right, as we approach with holistic mindsets. Again, thank you for checking us out. Please be sure to watch all of our lives, our future lives. For sure, we're going live every Sunday at 3 p.m. CST for this month of February. Last week we covered love languages. Next week we're covering Myers-Briggs personality profile. If you're familiar with any of these resources, any of these theories, please do let us know. Give us a brain emoji in the chat, okay? As my tweens and my teens say, because we're on our big brain behavior as we learn and grow our relational capacity. If you're watching this on replay, please do put hashtag replay in the chat to let us know you're watching, and we appreciate the support. Also, about a week ago, we received confirmation that we were officially selected to be a presenter at the 2022 Simply Coaching Summit. So make sure you're following us on all platforms and you've subscribed to our email list. In other news, we'll be launching a project soon for the youth. And it's really it's a really big deal, to say the least. I don't want to get into it too much, but it is a really big deal. Hey, Auntie Wanda. So my personal introduction to multiple intelligences, believe it or not, came in high school. So yes, over 20 years ago, right? I was taking a sociology course my junior year. Shout out to Ms. Steinbauer. And Howard Gardner and his theories were one of the many constructs in social sciences that we actually studied during that year. But for some reason, we know the reason now, his major and minor theories really stayed with me and stood out to me. For some more context, and the shift in thinking and how big of a deal this was in my shift in thinking from my young mind, I actually read the whole book, y'all. When we had to read about his theories, I read the whole book. So for a pause. Mind you, this was at the height, I would say arguably the height of Cliff Notes era. Nobody was reading the whole book in high school, right? A couple people maybe even would divide and conquer the chapters. Somebody would buy the Cliff Notes, we'd read it, and took the test. But that's how captivated I was, how intrigued I was that I actually read the whole book about this social theory. Okay. Fast forward a little bit. So the theory was a bit controversial because some people said, Howard Gardner, you're calling these intelligences, but really this is just people's natural skills and talents. So, right, okay, sir. But it's really much deeper than that. We'll look at the intelligence types. There's 8 of them. We're going to look at the general indicators of each. And we're going to close out with the dangers. Yes, it's dangerous if we don't operate in them and understand them and try to grow and develop them. Okay, so you've been great while we wait to get to the details of the types. You made it, so let's go. The first type, visual spatial. Depending on the age group, sometimes we say picture smart. They're good at puzzles. They recognize patterns very easily. They enjoy drawing, painting, and other visual arts. They interpret charts and graphs well. So this could be your architect, your engineer, and your artist, just to name a few. Excuse me. Your second type, linguistic verbal, sometimes called word smart. Remember written and spoken info very well. They use humor when telling stories. They're able to explain things well, and they enjoy debate and persuasive speeches. This could be your teacher, your lawyer, your journalist, and a plethora of other jobs, careers. Logical, mathematical, logic smart. They enjoy abstract thinking. Excellent problem-solving skills, can solve complex computations easily, and they like conducting experiments. These can be your accountants, computer programmers, and also very popular in society right now. There's a huge shift for a lot of IT jobs for people to take the IT route at a lot of different levels. Kinesthetic intelligence, body smart. They're skilled at dancing and sports. They enjoy creating with their hands, excellent physical coordination, and remember best by doing versus seeing and hearing. Now, I'll say that educators tend to be very aware of this particular intelligence. The more recent generations, Generation Z, Alpha Generation, have a higher rate of this being one of their intelligences. It's normally combined often with visual. So we have a lot of visual kinesthetic body smarts and visual smart young people in these last couple of generations that we've taught. We've seen the shift over the years. So yes, we would imagine builders, sculptors, but for a lot of people, they're surprised by actor also being in this particular category. But if you think about it, it makes sense. And so I'll tell you about a brief exchange I had with a student. A student took this profile. His highest intelligence type was body smart, kinesthetic intelligence. He said, Ms. Jones, this is not right. I'm not athletic at all, right? I get chosen last for the teams. I don't want to even play sports. I said, okay, remember, I want you to read the full profile, the whole paragraph. And so, no, he may not have been super talented athletically, but he had just gotten selected to be one of the leads in the school one-act play. So clearly he was body smart after all. So that kind of put it in context for him. Musical intelligence, music smart. Recognize musical patterns and tones easily. Remember songs and melodies. Rich understanding of musical structure, rhythm, and notes. Classroom reference. These are your tappers, whether it's pencils, fingers, coins, right? Shout out to the old school if you're making your B with your coin. Anything. This particular intelligence, the music smart, reminds me of a YouTube video I saw where it was Patti LaBelle and Dolly Parton. They played on their nails. They were singing a song and Dolly said, come on, let's make a beat. Let's do the rhythm on our nails. So again, anything. When you have that type of intelligence, it shows up any and every way. These are your producers. Somebody has to make the melodies and the beats, right? Music teacher, a composer, a singer. Interpersonal intelligence, people smart. They communicate well verbally. They're skilled in nonverbal communication. They see situations from multiple perspectives. It's very easy for them to see and imagine how others are feeling in that same situation. So that helps them to solve conflicts amongst others. And they tend to have a positive relationship with many people. These are your salespersons, right? Your politician, counselor, philosopher, and psychologist. A student said, well, we were talking about this once, Ms. Jones, wait, so a psychologist and a philosopher, so people get paid to think? Some people get paid to think? I said, well, yes, most definitely. Some people get paid to think, and other people get paid to think about how and why other people think. Imagine that, right? So just kind of putting things into perspective for them. Intrapersonal intelligence, self-smart. They analyze their strengths and weaknesses well. Enjoy analyzing theories, excellent self-awareness, and understand the basis for their own feelings. These are writers, philosophers, theorists, and scientists. Last but not least, naturalistic intelligence, nature smart. Interested in topics like botany, zoology, and biology. They categorize and classify things into groups very well and easily, and they dislike things that have no connection to nature. They enjoy hiking, camping, exploring the great outdoors. Yeah, that last one is not me. I must say that last one is not me. Okay. This can be a conservationist, your gardener, a farmer, and we need more of those for sure. Hi, Erica. So some of the key points, we just recapped and went over the 8 types. So some key things I want to make sure we focus on before we wrap up. In a recent conversation with a consultant colleague friend, Carla, shout out to Carla at Transcend Learning, she mentioned that the biggest malpractice in pedagogy is that we facilitate compliance. So I kind of had to pause and sit with it for a moment. She referenced pedagogy, so generally referring to school, the art of teaching, but how often in a person's life, is the goal compliance versus curating and cultivating authentic knowledge and application. There's so many avenues of genius. We talked about 8, and we talked about the different ways the 8 can show up. But most people have 3 dominant areas that show up very readily, very easily. I think we're growing out of it as a society, but traditionally we put so much emphasis on logic and mathematical smarts. And that has ruled the land, at least on paper. But now there's much more emphasis and appreciation for creativity in the various lanes and how it appears and shows up. It's such an amazing thing to see the world, to perceive our interactions with others through a lens of what types of intelligences certain behaviors and tendencies are demonstrating. So fast forward a bit more. I've written a curriculum for teen leadership for a district I worked with, and the themes of each unit within the course remained the same as my young people grew to be developing adults. But I always sought ways to improve that course. And imagine when God brought back Howard Gardner and multiple intelligence to my remembrance. So that was one of the adjustments I made over the years. So just to share a few moments of how powerful that was, even in their middle school lives, some of the conversations we had as I could watch the shift in my young people's awareness and as it deepened and how they applied it. So some thoughts that we've adopted as a society is I can only focus on one thing at a time. I can only be good at one. So as students would see for some of their profiles, their numbers for their types of smarts were so close. Me telling them, well, why choose? Be that double, triple, quadruple threat, right? Etc. Do what you can do. See how far you can go, excelling in all those things. Well, Ms. Jones, I hadn't even thought about trying this thing, but I was kind of curious about it. Now I see it popped up as one of my top 3, right? It falls under one of my types of intelligence, top 3 categories. I'm going to try it. I'm going to go for it. And it never failed that at least a handful of students each year, that they will come to their own conclusions, some of what we talked about, that they would look at, we also look at it, on paper, but also look at the 8 types as a circle graph. The math teacher and me, we had to look at it in a graphical way. So they would say, well, Ms. Jones, if this logic type is only 1/8, looking at this circle, it's only 1/8 of the entirety of us as a person, as people, why do we put so much emphasis on it? If it's just a single aspect, standardized test, other high stakes exams, depending on your state, right? Why do we put so much emphasis on it? And so that was part of my message to them, was that we should equally emphasize all your types of smart and grow all your types of intelligences. So it was an encouraging and good reminder, and to use their types of smart, their dominant types, to leverage maybe some areas where they could grow a bit. So imagine if we did nurture those smarts and give people space for those smarts to grow and extend graces as those smarts are truly being refined, because we know it's going to need some refining along the way. Imagine the level and type of community dynamics that would exist. On the flip side though, imagine not reminding, and in many cases not making our youth aware, not making ourselves aware in many cases as well, of your multifaceted self and how to build on those strengths. That would just be purely pecans, y'all, if we didn't. It would just be purely pecans. Again, the information on multiple intelligences, those resources and tips are linked at the top of the video, particularly a resource from Very Well Mind that has the list of the intelligences again, the strengths, characteristics, and some other career thoughts. Don't forget to follow us on all platforms and sign up to receive valuable resources and tips. And later in the week, we'll invite you to share your findings, what your love languages were, what your types of smart are, and make sure you're on the lookout for that. So thank you for joining. See you all next week, same time. Bye-bye.